at the site, the former Ciba-Geigy site. We took to heart the number of public comments that we received, took seriously the many stories and many points of perspective that were raised by the public in the engagement sessions that we held in the spring. And I believe that we've landed in a place that will not only ensure that the natural resources that were historically injured are compensated for, but that we are also providing a place ultimately years from now, of course, where where successful natural resource restoration projects will be able to offer their benefits to the public. And I'm happy to take questions about the final settlement that has been reached and any differences between it and the materials that were made available when originally proposed. We find ourselves in an improved position from the original proposal, considering that important public comment. The fundamentals of this restoration endeavor, of course, remain unchanged. I'll remind everyone of what it is that we are trying to resolve here. What we are trying to resolve here is principally the liabilities for injuries to groundwater at the former Ciba-Geigy site. And in addition to that, injuries to ecology at the Ciba-Geigy site. And one of the important things I think that we learned, and perhaps all of us, in the course of the engagements over the last several months, has been the difficulty sometimes in communicating the nuance, the distinctions between what it means to pursue natural resource restoration in addition to cleanup obligations that are being fulfilled, in addition to punitive measures that had to be taken over the years, in addition to the criminal charges that were once brought, in addition to the over the years individual lawsuits that were levied and which are present, past, or future unaffected by this. That what we are dealing with here is a distinct issue of natural resource injury and principally groundwater injury, for which we have negotiated one of the best natural resource resolutions that the state of New Jersey has ever seen. And so happy to take questions about it.
And I'll just let everyone know that I am recording this. If you could just raise your hand and we'll take your questions in order. Julie?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Commissioner, for putting this, for providing this availability today. This is Julie Dorio from NJ Spotlight News. I just wanted to get your reaction to Save Barnegat Bay saying that they are going to be suing over this. I spoke with their executive director and they referred to, in their words, this settlement as dismissive and arrogant, that their words. And they mentioned that they are concerned and unhappy about the fact that the damages proposed do not include harm done to the land affected by the outflow pipe, and that there's no calculation for the land impacted by that outflow pipe, the river, the bay, or the ocean. So can I just ask you to kind of respond to those claims?
So I appreciate that, Julian. I will tell you that I have the utmost respect for Britta and the folks at Save Barnegat Bay that do really important and critical work. It was not long ago that that I did work with one of their main lawyers, Michelle Donato, in order to support Save Barnegat Bay's cause. And so I believe deeply in what the work that they are trying to accomplish, and I appreciate their partnership, and I can understand their dissatisfaction with elements of this settlement. That said, I think it's important to be very clear, very sober about what this settlement regards. It is principally directed at the resolution of liabilities for groundwater contamination that we can sustain proofs about. Now, one of the difficulties in pursuing natural resource injury claims is that so many claims for natural resource injuries or elements of those claims that are historic in nature can suffer difficult proof problems. And so that is a consideration that we always have to bring into the resolution of a natural resource injury claim. And when we are making determinations about whether to bring a matter all the way to a trial or to settle, we have to bring in to that calculus the notions of litigation risk. There are many elements of what are believed to be historic impacts coming from that came from Ciba-Geigy at one point in time, for which there may be insufficient proofs to demonstrate the extent of natural resource injury. And so we have to carefully balance what is provable in court. And what I believe we were able to negotiate here is a settlement that is not just a benefit to the natural resources that we know were injured, but that we pushed BASF to account for injuries that we were not certain we could fully prove in court. And so I understand the dissatisfaction that Save Barnegat Bay raises. And in this work, we have to make choices. You have to make choices about legal risk and getting the best benefit for the public that you possibly can. I believe this settlement does that. And I think in time, as we see natural resource restoration projects unfolding and the environment that is native to this area come back to life based on what we do here, I think that in time, we will demonstrate for the public and for those at Save Barnegat Bay who, again, work so hard on the same mission that we do, we will demonstrate that this was the right thing. I'm not going to convince a community who still suffers with the scars of this contamination nightmare from decades ago. I'm not going to be able to convince them that this is the right thing. I have to show them. The DEP must show them, and we will.
I should have pointed out earlier, we do have a 4:45 hard stop, just so you know. Michelle?
Hi, yeah, Michelle over at patch.com. Thank you for setting this up. I just wanted to ask for clarification, how much of the site is still part of that parcel that is owned by BASF, or is there none? There was sorry, go ahead.
So what we have been able to do, there was originally in the proposal an agreement to preserve the vast majority of this site in order to protect the groundwater and affect injury restoration and groundwater recharge in perpetuity. And what there was a 255 acre area that would not have been included. And so what we were able to do was get BASF to preserve another 50 acres, following the public comment, understanding that some in the public wanted to see more preserved than originally had been agreed upon. And we were able to get an additional commitment, but it is not everything. There is still some land that will not be preserved in perpetuity.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm filling in for Karen Wall while she's on vacation and just wanted to make sure I have everything correct. So thank you.
I would characterize it is that the way I would characterize it is that we are getting a lot more, but we are not getting it all.
Thank you.
Commissioner, I have a question that's coming in from Zoe Reed, who's joining us by phone, and I can't seem to unmute her.
I think if she pressed *6, I think that might be the way to unmute when you're on the phone.
You want to give that a try,
Can you hear me?
Zoe? Yep, there we go.
Let the record
Can you
reflect
hear
that
me?
I'm proud of myself for remembering that.
Go ahead, Zoe.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I was wondering, what exactly did DEP take from the public comment when putting together this revised settlement?
A number of things. And so you can see that in the public comment response document. Public comment response documents don't always follow a settlement adoption. And here we thought it was important to articulate the comments that we received, and then to respond to them in writing. And many of those comments were grouped together because some comments were the same. And so you can see from that public comment response document, it's about 15 pages long, the specific comments and the responses. What I think we took from the public comment was, first and foremost, that the public wanted to see more land preserved than was originally proposed. And we were able to facilitate more, but just as I mentioned to the prior reporter, Michelle, that we were not able to get everything. We did get more. We got 50 acres more. And so that will facilitate even more groundwater recharge and restoration, which is the main thrust of the claims for groundwater contamination over the years. And so that is a primary thing that we took. The public comment was also concerned with the fact that DEP would be reimbursed $100,000 for our time investment and the investment of our staff's time and talents in doing the natural resource assessment and then restoration planning. And so we were able to get that increase from $100,000 to $500,000. And so the thing to note about that is that this will pay for our administration of this long-term project, so that the public is not paying through its taxpayer dollars for our administration of this long-term project. And then the last thing that I think is very, very important is that we have secured the commitments to deep community engagement and involvement throughout the individual natural resource restoration planning, design, and implementation elements. And so you'll see from this website that we put together that there are 9 distinct natural resource restoration projects, and the public will have an opportunity to provide guidance and feedback to the designers and the constructors of these projects moving forward. And I think that's very, very important.
Thank you.
Okay. Michelle, I see you have your hand up. Do you have another question?
I'm sorry, that must have been a misclick. Nope.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, Larry, can you hear me? It's John Hurst.
Yeah, John, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Sean, could you just, by way of context, tell us how many natural resource damage suits have been filed so far by the Murphy administration, and how many of those have been settled like this one or decided in court?
I don't have the exact number off the top of my head. We can follow that up for you, John. It's certainly upwards of 18 or so. I think we may be into the 20s, but I'm not certain. And those resolved, there have been two. There was a resolution of an Exxon natural resource injury matter in South Jersey that has been resolved. That went to public comment sometime last year, and then this one. And what I think is very, very important to recognize is that if we are doing our job best, we are not only resorting to litigation. I know that there is always this distinction made between the Christie administration, who pursued no natural resource injury lawsuits during that 8 years, and that is true, and a distinction with this administration, where we have pursued natural resource injury complaints under the Murphy administration. And John, you probably know that that is the very reason that former Commissioner Catherine McCabe hired me, because I am an environmental litigator by background, and I was brought on to pursue these lawsuits, first and foremost, as well as PFAS lawsuits, to make polluters pay for the destruction they have wrought. Now, that said, if we are doing our job best, we're not just resorting to litigation, but we are revising our policies and our protocols and our regulatory scheme so as to always require natural resource injury restoration. And that is why earlier this year I issued a new natural resource damage policy, and we are pursuing a policy change to promote natural resource injury resolution at every contaminated site in the state of New Jersey as a matter of course. We should not just do lawsuits against those polluters that have wrought the worst contamination, but we should always, always restore natural resources. And that is a paradigm shift, a positive one, in my opinion.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Does anyone else have any further questions? Okay, if we don't have any more questions, Karen Shinsky and I are available to help you with any follow-up questions. Actually, Karen will be able to follow up with you tomorrow on anything you might have. So just please let us know.
I hope that means because you're taking some well-deserved time off, Larry.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, finally. So if you have anything else, if it's tonight, just let me know. If it's tomorrow, let Karen know. And, Commissioner, thank you so much for your time, and also to our friends on the other end, thank you so much for your time, and have a good evening.
Thank you all. Be well.
Thanks, y'all.